George III of the United Kingdom. His full name is George William Frederick. He was born in 4 June 1738 at St. James's Square in London. He was the grandson of King George II and the eldest son of Prince of Wales. His life and reign were longer than any of his predecessors and marked by serious military conflicts and wars. Early in his reign, Great Britain defeated France in 7 Years' War in 1763, and Great Britain became the dominant power in North America and India. But many Britain colonies in America lost in the American War of Independence, which lasted till 1783. In his later years, the pressure on him as a king increased, and he made some changes in taxes and increased almost all taxes, and colonies resisted these taxes. One of the famous of them is Boston Tea Party, in which American patriots rebelled against taxes and acted as a violation of their rights. In his last years, he became dangerously ill and died in 29 January 1820.
The final colonial war was the French and Indian War, which is the name given to the American theater of a massive conflict involving Austria, England, France, Great Britain, Prussia, and Sweden, called the 7 Years' War. The conflict was played out in Europe, India, and North America. In Europe, Sweden, Austria, and France were allied to crush the rising power of Frederick the Great, King of Prussia. The English and the French battled for colonial domination in North America, the Caribbean, and in India. The English did ultimately come to dominate the colonial outposts, but at a cost so staggering the resulting debt nearly destroyed the English government. It was that debt that caused the escalation of tensions leading to the Revolutionary War.
The Townshend Revenue Act is an act for granting certain duties in the British colonies and plantations in America for allowing a drawback of the duties of customs upon the exportation from this kingdom of coffee and cocoa nuts of the produce of the said colonies or plantations, for discontinuing the drawbacks payable on China earthenware exported to America, and for more effectually preventing the clandestine running of goods in the said colonies and plantations. Whereas it is expedient that a revenue should be raised in your Majesty's dominions in America for making a more certain and adequate provision for defraying the charge of the administration of justice and the support of civil government in such provinces as it shall be found necessary, and towards further defraying the expenses of defending, protecting, and securing the said dominions, be it enacted that from and after the 20th day of November 1767 there shall be raised, levied, collected, and paid unto his Majesty, his heirs and successors for upon and the respective goods hereinafter mentioned, which shall be imported from Great Britain into any colony or plantation in America which now is or hereafter may be, under the dominion of his Majesty, his heirs or successors, the several rates and duties following, that is to say, for every 100 our druppos of crown, plate, flint, and white glass, 4 shillings and 8 pence. For every 100 our druppos of red lead, 2 shillings. For every 100 our druppos of green glass, 1 shilling and 2 pence. For every 100 our druppos of white lead, 2 shillings. For every 100 our druppos of painter's colors, 2 shillings. For every pound our druppos of tea, 3 pence. For every ream of paper, usually called or known by the name of atlas fine, 12 shillings.